So let's see how we can use the effects preset generator on these vocals. Let's start with something simple and ask it to give us a bright, modern pop vocal sound. I'm going to click generate and listen to the results. Fantastic thing that BandLab has included here is that if you press this I, it gives you a little information about what the plugin does and what each of the individual controls does as well. It brings up the whole chain of effect. It's really amazing how easy and convenient this app makes things. What makes this a really powerful tool, and one that's not just a shortcut or a cheat code, is that I'm going to teach you how to use BandLab's effects preset generator to create professional sounding vocals in minutes, and also learn a bit of sound design while you're at it. I'm going to start by making a quick track within BandLab, and to show you how easy they make it, I'm going to do it on my phone. I'm going to create a new project, and to do that you click the cross at the bottom of the screen there and then open Studio. That takes you into the DAW itself, and from there we're going to look in BandLab sounds, and you can do that by clicking the musical note there on the bottom right of the screen. And I kind of want to make a Tom York / Radiohead style song, so I'm going to look there and see if there's anything that inspires me. I found this Dream Pop sample pack here, and I really like this Georgia guitar lead one, so I'm going to add that to the project, and it sounds something like this. I've had another search around and found a couple of percussive elements which I think complement it really well. I feel quite inspired now, and I have a synth bass part in my mind, so I'm going to create a new track and add a virtual instrument. If we scroll along, we can find synth basses over here, and I'm going to look through these and find one and play something in. I like some organic drums in this, so I found this dry drum kit in the virtual instruments, so I'm going to use that and play something in. So here's what the finished backing track sounds like, and then we're going to add some vocals over the top of this. I'll meet you in the spaces in between. A new horizon I can't reach. Under the ocean, above the sky, there's a place where our love lies. Be it heaven or be it hell, where we'll end up, who can tell? So there's the vocals recorded, and if you didn't notice, I recorded all of them vocals directly into the phone microphone. It's really amazing how easy and convenient this app makes things. I'm going to show you the final results without any effects on, but I have recorded 3 overlapping vocal parts on purpose so that we can use BandLab's effects preset generator to kind of make space for them. Right now, it's going to sound a tad cluttered. So let's see how we can use the effects preset generator on these vocals. To access it, you press the plus effects button, and then you scroll down a bit, and it says generate with prompt, and it gives you a few examples here. You can kind of type in anything you want. We're going to try a few examples now though. Let's start with something simple and ask it to give us a bright, modern pop vocal sound. I'm going to click generate and listen to the results. I'll meet you in the spaces. I like that one, and I especially enjoyed the reverb on it, but we're going to try a couple of other prompts out of curiosity, and I can do that without fear of losing my other ones because they all get stored. So let's try something else and see what we can come up with. For this one here, I asked it to give me a very trippy and psychedelic sound. Let's see what it came up with. I'll meet you in the spaces. I would say it achieved that, especially with that tremolo, very trippy indeed. And for this last example, I asked it to give me a retro tape saturated sounding vocal. Let's listen to this. I'll meet you in the spaces So you can hear that saturation on there, giving it a bit of bite. Now you could just get this feature to generate effects for you, but what makes this a really powerful tool, and one that's not just a shortcut or a cheat code, is that if you press this mixer button between the star and the three dots here, it brings up the whole chain of effects. Now you can go in and adjust each parameter individually, and it's a really great learning opportunity because you get to see what's under the hood of the sound that BandLab is processing for you. When it comes to learning effects or sound design, I really recommend taking one step at a time. So we're going to start with this vocal verb because I think it's the easiest to hear what's happening. A fantastic thing that BandLab has included here is that if you press this I, it gives you a little information about what the plugin does and what each of the individual controls does as well. So for example, on mix here, it says control the balance of dry and wet signal, and on size, it says controls the size of the space. A larger size will give you a longer reverb time. That means you're not going in completely blind. It gives you a little information about what each thing does. However, your ear is still going to be your best friend when it comes to these sort of things. And my approach to this is to take one parameter at a time and put it on its minimum value and then put it on its maximum value. So we're going to start with the mix. It's on 0%, so there should really be no effect at play here at all. I'll meet you in the spaces. And that sounds about right. It's very dry, not a lot going on. So we're going to put it on 100%, and this time we should hear the reverb at play. So it's very obvious what it does that way. I've left the mix on 60%, that's where it sounded good to me. So we're going to try this same technique on the other parameters here. This first one's called reflect, and it says controls the intensity of early reflections. Now that's not very clear what that means by its words. So we're going to try and do the same technique that we did before, and we're going to start with it on its minimum value on 0%. I'll meet you in the spaces. So that's what it sounds like with it off. And now we're going to put it up to 100% and see what the difference is. I'll meet you in the spaces. So you can clearly hear that springy sound at the beginning there. I don't think I want too much of that. I'm going to see what it sounds like on 30%. I'll meet you in the spaces. I think that's pretty good. We'll leave it at that. Okay, now we're going to have a look at a different plugin. This time we're going to look at compressor. And we're going to use the same philosophies, the same sort of techniques in order to figure out what it does, learn about the effect a little bit. So we're going to listen to it without any effects on. I'll meet you in the spaces. And then we're just going to turn on the compressor by itself and hear how that affects the sound. I'll meet you in the spaces. Okay, so it's brought the level up a bit and it sounds a little bit smoother overall. So before we do anything else, let's press that I button again and bring up the tooltips and let's see what information it gives us. So it says feed forward compressor to reduce dynamics. There's also a lot about gain reduction, pre-gain reduction level, gain reduction. So we can kind of deduce that this is kind of to do with levels and it's kind of making everything a little bit more even. Now let's use that technique again of picking a parameter and putting it on its minimum value and then its maximum value and kind of compare the two. I'm going to pick threshold here because looking through all the descriptions, this one says determines the point where the gain reduction will be applied. And as a lot of this plugin seems to be to do with gain reduction, this roughly translates to me as determine the point where the effect will start. So let's hear it on its minimum setting first. I'll meet you in the spaces. So that sounds very kind of squashed to me. And now let's compare it with its maximum. I'll meet you in the spaces. And now that one sounds much more similar to what it sounds like without the effect on. So of course I can't demonstrate every effect in every setting because otherwise this would be an hour-long video. But hopefully I've given you some approaches there that can aid you. To round things up, let's get back to that track we were working on. If you remember earlier, we had a slight problem with these three overlapping vocal parts. They were kind of getting in the way of each other, kind of feeling a bit cluttered. So I'm going to show you how I use BandLab's effects preset generator to fix that. For the lead vocal, I prompted the generator to enhance the clarity of the vocal and give me a very crisp, dry and upfront sound. There's a new horizon. For the first backing vocal, I asked the generator to give me something spacey, ethereal and with a lot of reverb on it. In between. For the background chants, I actually double tracked these, so I used two different prompts, one for each track. The first one was to give me a pillowy kind of muffled sound, and the second one was to make it sound like a group of people singing at once. Under the ocean, above the sky, there's a place where our love lies. Then I blended those two sounds together and it sounds something like this. Under the ocean, above the sky, there's a place where our love lies. So the effects preset generator kind of got me pretty close to where I wanted to be with those tracks, but there was a few things that I changed. For example, sometimes they put a reverb on the chant, and I didn't want a reverb on the chant, and also I just kind of adjusted a few parameters here and there just to make it closer to what I had in my head. But now we've given each vocal part its own characteristic and its own space in the mix, it sounds a lot less cluttered. Let's have a listen. I'll meet you in the spaces. So as you could hear there, it's now much clearer which one the lead vocal is meant to be and which one the backing vocal is meant to be. And these are the sort of things that you want to bear in mind when you're approaching sound design. So there we have it. BandLab's effects preset generator is definitely a powerful tool just by itself, but it's even more powerful when you can use it to enhance your own skills. Use the generator to create the chain of effects, and then go in and experiment yourself. It's a process, but you'll be surprised by how quickly you can learn.